Hey everyone, it's me, Rami Marks, your Tangled Yogi out here in Northern California. Welcome to week 6 of the Chrysalis Sessions. I'm so excited to bring you this class. So let's go ahead and talk about the things that we're going to need today. I'm going to be working with the Micron PN pen, but you can use your favorite Tangle pen. I've got the Sakura Jelly Roll Gold and White in my hands here. These are great for doing highlighting work, and we're going to be putting gold in the center of our chrysalis today. I have the Identa pen. This is such a great pen for pooling ink, especially around the bottom of the butterfly. But if you don't have the Identa pen, you can always grab a Sharpie in lieu of it or your favorite puddle pen. I'm going to be working with a graphite pencil and a blending stump. If you don't have a blending stump, you can always grab a Q-tip in lieu of that. And this is just a regular number 2 pencil. You know me, I'm a Prismacolor girl. Grab your Prismacolor pencils. We're going to have a lot of fun with this one. Now, if you don't have Prismacolors, don't worry about it. Just grab what you have and play along with us. Now, if you're interested in printing out the template, go out to the class description. The link to the template is in the class description. If you aren't able to print out your own template, you can always just draw a rectangle that's 6 inches by 3 inches wide and put it in your sketchbook and tangle along with us. The butterfly in here that you can draw in is 3 inches wide and 2 inches tall. So with that said, let's get started with week number 6 of the Chrysalis Sessions. So let's just dive in here and grab your pen. We're going to start by just inking in around the butterfly here. So you can see that I'm just going to go ahead and ink in my butterfly. So there's a reason why we did the butterflies in gray, and that was so that if you wanted to do your own design on it, you could, and it wouldn't be such a strong color. So you can see that I'm just going through and I'm inking in my butterfly, taking my time here, come around to the other side and have them join up. And once I've had a chance to go all the way around the butterfly, I'm going to do a little bit of a internal aura here. Now my aura is going to be a little bit different this time. It's going to start from the point and work its way out. It's not going to be a clean aura all the way around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just come in right here at this point and start to create a little bit of a thicker aura right around the edges. See how that got a little bit bigger there? And then I'm going to go ahead and let it drop down, and I'm going to let it come in. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side, so I'm just going to go up and over, let it be a little bit thicker in the corner, and then drop down and come in. Now for the bottom, I'm going to do a very similar piece. All I'm going to do is just let this be a little bit thicker on the edges and then come back to this point right here. And the same thing over here. So I'm just going to come in, make it a little bit thicker, and that's going to let it come in. Now the reason why I'm doing this is because this is kind of an ode to the the butterfly that flies through our area here in the Bay Area. We have the beautiful orange butterflies that I love so much. And so what I'm doing is I'm coming through and I'm working with this beautiful, nice Identa pen here. And letting it work in the corners. And then I'll come over to the other side and I'll do the other side. Same thing in here as well. So you go ahead and do yours. I'm going to finish up mine. So you can see I've got now the outside of the monarch butterfly that we have here. The cat had my tongue a little bit earlier and I couldn't remember the name of the butterfly. So here we are. So we're going to start to work with a couple of tangles here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring a little bit of scratch paper in and we're going to learn a tangle or two. Let's go ahead and zoom in on this. So the first tangle that we're going to learn today, this is called I Can Too. And this is a tangle that I come back to quite a bit, and I really, really like it. And it's created by a friend of mine named Hani Nura, and she's just lovely. A lot of her tangles I use, and I think she's just a fabulous tangler. So to create I Can Too, you're going to see me come in with my pencil here, and I'm just going to start by creating a leaf-like shape, and then I'm going to go 1, 2, and then I'm going to go 3, and this is going to have a little bit of a printemps in it. Now on the inside you can see that I've left a little bit of space here, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to create the stem, which looks a little something like this. And that is I Can Too. Now you can come into I Can Too and do a little bit of pooling of your ink just by coming into these little indentations and giving it a little bit of pooling, and that will give it even more interest. If you wanted to, you could even come into printemps and give printemps a little bit of heaviness too, which is kind of nice. So let's go ahead and come back to our butterfly here. So let's bring that back in. And you're going to see me work with my pencil here just so that I can get I Can Too the way that I want it to be here. So I'm just going to start by coming into this little point that we have here. I'm going to come up and over. I'm going to make that really nice leaf-like shape here. And then I'm going to go 1, 2, and then I'm going to go 3, and bring it back in and do my printemps. Now you'll notice that that's really filling the space, right? You can see that my printemps made its way down into this area, and that was kind of by design. Now I'm going to come in nice and close to that point, and I'm going to create my stem, and I'm going to go 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side here. So I'm going to come in and create that leaf-like shape. And I always, tend to be a little bit different when I'm mirroring. It just happens to be that way for me. And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to create my printemps. I'm going to come into this area right here and create my stem. And then I'll go ahead and I'll create my little lines. And that is how I'm going to be doing I Can Too today. So go ahead and do yours. I'm going to do mine. And when we come back, we're going to go ahead and just ink these in. So I have my pen here, and I'm just going to come in and start to ink in my I Can Too, and I'm just taking my time with it. You can see that I'm going nice and slow and filling in the spaces the best way that I can. And I always like to do a little pencil work sometimes when I'm first starting out. Just kind of helps me to warm up. So you can see that I'm going to do the stem in here nice and slow. And now remember how we were talking about inking in, so I'm just going to come in right here and give that a little bit of a line, and ink in right here and give that a little line, and then I'll pool my ink into this area and into this area right here. Another place that you can pool your ink is to define your little stems here just by rounding off that edge up top, which is really nice too. You can also come into where printemps is and you can give it a little bit of weight, just like so, and pull that in. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other side the same way. You go ahead and do yours. Now, because today is Valentine's Day, I thought it would be really fun to do another heart in the center of our butterflies here. So I'm just going to come in right to the center and start by creating a nice heart right in the center. And we're going to pool some ink into that in a minute. But if you want to, you can come in and do a very soft aura right in the center. And then you can come in and pool your ink around your heart just to give it a little bit of that graphic feel. And you know, if you're making this for a friend for Valentine's, it's such a nice gift to give. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do 2 auras right behind it. I'm going to go 1 and 2, and then I'll do another one, 1 and 2, just like that. Okay, so you go ahead and do yours. I'm going to finish up mine, and then when we come back, we're going to start to work in the background. We're going to do Walk the Line. So we're going to do one of my favorite tangles called Walk the Line here. And this is created by Chrysalis. She's an amazing tangler and I just adore her. And so this is going to be one of those tangles that you come back to again and again. I'm going to pick up my graphite pencil here and I'm just going to start by putting a little circle in the middle. We're going to do Walk the Line as a spiral today. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to come to around this little piece in here and just create a little bit of printemps. Now the reason why I do it this way is just because for me it just gives me a more cohesive feel when I'm doing this. So once I've got my pencil ready to go, I'm actually going to make this kind of a wavy printemps, if you will. So I'm going to come in and I'm just going to start to make these wavy lines that go around with where printemps is, and it kind of will end up looking like a petal. So that's how I'm going to build the string of Walk the Line here. Now, the way that Walk the Line works is you start by coming in, and I'll just go ahead and I'm going to leave this alone because I'm actually going to do some circles in here just so that you get the idea of where we're going with this. So once I have it, I can come in and I can start to create these petals that come up and touch the line. And what's so cool about Walk the Line is you kind of just keep touching the edge and it creates these really cool interstices, those little weird triangles that end up right along the line here. And when we pull those in, it looks really, really neat and very, very graphic. And you can see that because my line is wavy, it's starting to take on this petal-like shape, which is really, really cool. So I'm going to continue that all the way around, but instead of doing this here, we're going to do it on our piece, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and grab my piece and bring it back in, and I'm going to zoom out just a skosh here. And just because we did it with pencil the first time, I think I'm going to do it the same way. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up away from my butterfly just a little bit, about, I'm going to say maybe 2 inches, and I'm going to make that circle. I'm working with my graphite pencil here, and that's where I'm going to put the head of the flower in here. Now you're going to see me just kind of circle off, and I'm going to start to create my printemps. Now, as I create my printemps, it's going to get bigger and bigger. So I'm just kind of letting it go off the page, and I might let it come in over here, let it come out over here. Let's go ahead and make sure that's on the page still, and then I'll let it come to right about here. Okay? Now, once I have that, I am going to make space for our ladybug, who is our kind of guest of honor here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in right here and I'm going to make a fairly large tipple right about here, and that's going to be my space saver for my ladybug. Now I'm going to pick up my pen and I'm going to start to create that wavy line within the confines of where we have the pencil. So all I'm doing is just creating kind of these little wavy lines that are working with the confines of that pencil. You can see I'm just kind of going back and forth, back and forth. Nice, soft, wavy lines. And then I'll do the same thing over here, just keeping it nice and wavy. When I get to where my ladybug is going to be, I'm going to pause, and then I'm going to come out the other side and just do a nice wavy line. Now I'll come into the center here and I'll start in with my circles first, getting the head of that flower going. And I love using the circle to help me to stay within the piece, because otherwise I could just keep going with tipple all day. So there you can see I've got that going, and I feel like it's pretty good. And then I'll start with walk the line. So I always start it out from the kind of a midpoint and then work my way back in towards the center. Just find it easier to have a place to start. And then I'll just keep working with walk the line all the way around. So the key with walk the line is to continue to touch the edge as you go around. So you're going to see me just continue to turn my tile and walk the line. Such a cool tangle. Really, really graphic, and it is so cool when you shade it. So you can see that I'm just continuing to turn and letting that petal just touch the edge. And I think the key with walk the line is to just go slow and take your time, but also to make sure that your petals are staying about the same size. You can see that I'm going to continue to turn and work it all the way around. So you go ahead and do yours. I'm going to continue to work with mine, and then when we come back, we'll do some pooling of the ink. Okay? It's such a cool tangle, isn't it? So you can see that I've left a lot of space around my ladybug where I'm going to be working a little bit later. And you can also see around these edges where we weren't able to really show what was happening, all I did was continue my lines but just didn't round them off. You can see that when I got to this point I started rounding off again, and that's kind of how I handled that corner. And so you can see I've got all these little interstices now that I can come in and start to pool that ink. And when I start to pool the ink, you can see that it starts to create this beautiful wavy line that really gets quite dramatic. And so I'm going to go all the way around and pool where I have interstices. So I won't be pooling out here and I won't be pooling down here, but I'll come up in here and do all of these and all of these up in here. So really take your time with these and enjoy what you're doing. Let your mind just relax and just focus on this one thing. I think it can be a very relaxing thing to just puddle ink. Okay? So soften in your shoulders. Let your breath be nice and full and even, and enjoy. Okay? Isn't that so fun? Just loving this. So we're going to make our ladybug in here, and you can still see that I've got my circle as my guide in here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to come into the circle, and I'm just going to make a little bit of a upside down V or a triangle with a curve. So you can see that I'm just going in here and creating the petals of, or rather the wings of my ladybug here. And I'll go to the outside edge and just join it. Super fun and super easy. And then I'm just going to make the body of the ladybug by doing a little bit of a C curve atop of it, and then a little bit of an arc on top of that, and that's going to be the head of the ladybug. Now, most ladybugs have little wings that are kind of clear underneath them, and so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop down and create this little bit of an arc on both sides for those wings of the ladybug. And then I'll do just a little bit of an arc right here in the center, and I'm going to pool my ink into that little center piece just to give the ladybug a little bit of a body there. Now for me, when I am doing my ladybug dots, I try to keep them small, and I also try to keep them minimal. So I usually just do 3 on each wing, just like so, and 1 over here, 2 over here, and then maybe 1 over there. And then I'll pool my ink into those little dots on my ladybug wing. Now, most ladybugs have antennae and have legs, and so I'm going to do just a really brief little thing for my ladybug. I'm going to come up here and just give it a little arc, and that way we know that that's the head of the ladybug. And I'll give her her little antennae there, and then I'm just going to do these little legs that are going to come down and join her body here. Just like so. Really soft, really easy. And then if you wanted to give her little legs to come out underneath her, you could just give her some little legs under there as well. So that's all I'm going to do for the ladybug. Now I will come in and add just a little bit more of that the petals just in here, but I'm being very careful not to overlap on her legs so that those stay separate. Okay, so you can join it up as much as you want, and if you wanted to, you could even put one going down the center if that looks good for you. Okay, so have fun with your ladybug. Just love that ladybug. So I've got a little bit of my eraser in my hand here. It's just a little gummy eraser, and all I'm doing is just getting rid of any pencil lines that I still had on my piece here, because we're going to start with color. And we're going to be working with the central piece, and I have 2 colors in my hands today. I've got the process red, which is PC994, and then I also have PC932, which is violet. And I love these 2 colors together. They really give you quite a pop. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by working with the process red, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to come in right around where the flower is, and you're going to see me start to create a little bit of a soft shadow with the process red. This is kind of like a magenta color, so if you don't have the same color as me, you could use, a really pretty hot pink, or you could use a really pretty fuchsia color. Whatever color you have in your set will work. Okay? And so all I'm doing is just working around in a circle around the piece to start to bring in this really pretty soft shadow. So you can see that I'm going all the way around, but I'm not going up towards the top. I'm just creating that shadow that's going around the spiral itself. So you go ahead and do yours. I'm going to finish up mine, and then when we come back, we're going to start to work with the violet. So I have picked up my violet here, and I'm going to just start in by doing a very soft dusting of that violet through the petals here. I'm barely touching the page with that color and just keeping it nice and soft. And you can see that I'm letting it touch into where the process red was. So you can see that I'm kind of dancing around, and I'm just going to do this first couple of petals for you guys so that you can see it, and then I'm going to set you loose on the piece here. I'll probably stop right about here. So I've got that soft dusting of violet in here, and now what I'm going to do is at the very edge I'm going to give a little bit of pressure to that darker purple. So once again, if you don't have the same colors as me, just grab a purple that's in your set and you'll be just fine. So you can see that I'm giving this a little bit of pressure, which is giving me that really nice pop at the end, a nice drama here. And you can already see that just when I take my hand away that drama is really starting to happen. It's really quite cool. Now for this particular piece, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up my white, and you want to make sure that your white doesn't have any other color on it from the last time you used it. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to start to blend in where the light purple is meeting the darker purple so that we get more of a pastel feel throughout the piece here. So you can see that's all I'm doing. I'm not dragging it into the process red. I'm just dragging that darker purple into the lighter purple so that we get this really beautiful pastel-y kind of feel. And that's really what I'm shooting for, is just that soft pastel kind of feel. So go ahead and do yours. I'm going to do mine, and then when we come back, we'll add a little bit of a pop. So you can see I've had a chance to do some blending in here. Now you can see that I've also gone around and added some heavier line work with that process red in here. Notice the difference in here. I haven't done it yet. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to start to work around the little head of this flower that we have here, this walk the line flower. And I'm just giving it a pretty good press. And what this is going to do is it's going to make the color behind it start to pop. So you can see that as I'm bringing it around, I'm giving it a pretty good press. And then once I've had a chance to bring it in, I can come back in with a little bit of that white and start to drag it outward a little bit so that I get a little bit of a glow off of it, which is always nice. See how that starts to bring a little bit of a zing into that? I always love to get these colors to really pop next to each other. And if you get some white in the black, don't worry about it. You can always come back in and make it pop some more, but look at how fun that is. So go ahead and do that, and then when we come back, we're going to start to work on the head of the flower. So once you've had a chance to do that, you're going to see me pick up a yellow and an orange. I have in my hand yellowed orange, which is PC1002, and then I also have in my hand just regular orange, which is PC118. And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the orange and just give it a really soft dusting on one side here. And then once I've got that orange in there, I'm going to pick up that yellowed orange and just give a little bit of a light dusting of that yellowed orange in here. Now you're going to see me come back and press a little bit harder on that orange just to get a little bit of a pop, to make it look a little bit different than the yellow that we have there, which is really nice. It kind of gives it a little bit of a zing. So you go ahead and do yours. I'm going to do mine, and then when we come back, it's ladybug time. So I'm still holding on to the yellow and the orange that I had, and now I've got Scarlet Lake in my hand, which is PC923. I'm going to start with the Scarlet Lake, and I'm working inside of the wings here, and I'm going to go very, very softly with Scarlet Lake, about halfway up the wing here. And you can see that I'm just very softly dusting that in. Once I've got it pretty soft, I'm going to come in and press nice and heavy on it just to get a little bit of that really deep red color that Scarlet Lake is. And remember, if you don't have Scarlet Lake, you can always just grab whatever red you have in your set that you like. I'm going to come in now with a little bit of orange and start to dust in a little bit of orange halfway through the wingspan here. And you're going to see me leave a little bit of lightness up top. And that's where I'm going to do a little pop of yellow just to get this to really have a sweet feel to it. So it's almost as if we've got a little ombre in our little ladybug here. Ladybugs are so great because they're so good for our gardens. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that red again, and I'm just going to start to dust it through and give it a little bit more red on the inside. Just going a little bit over where that orange was, just to get a little bit of a pop. Maybe even a little bit into the yellow, because I don't want it to have too much of an ombre. I still want it to look like a ladybug. And that's how I'm going to do my little ladybug. So you go ahead and play with yours. I'm going to have some fun with mine. And when we come back, we're going to start to work with the butterfly. So many of you know that I like to do the technique of carrying color. So we just did that pop of red and yellow up there. So we're going to do it down here inside of our butterfly. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work on this side of the butterfly, and then you can do it on the other side. I'm just going to start to do a soft dusting of red right at the bottom of the butterfly here. And you're going to see me just carry it around our I Can Too. Really nice soft dusting here, nothing too complex. And just kind of walking around the I Can Too. And you're going to see me stop as I get closer to the top. I'm going to come over here and do a little bit of a dusting going up the side of the wing as well, but then I'll stop about midway through. Now once I've got that, I'm going to start to press a little bit harder around the I Can Too so that I start to get this really beautiful shadow around the I Can Too. So I'm looking for a little bit of drama in here just to get it to really pop. And I'll stop as I get closer to the top here. So you can see that I'm coming back around and working over here and working a little bit over the top of the heart here. Once I have that, I'm going to pick up my orange that we just used up top, and I'm going to start to circle that in around that shadow at the bottom. So I'm just kind of teasing that pigment around a little bit so that I get a really nice glow off of it. And I would say that I'm using a light to medium pressure here, just to kind of get it to dust and move around. And then I'll start to move up by myself with that orange. So I'm letting go of the red and bringing just the orange into this area, but I'll leave the tip or the corner of the wing alone. I'm going to come over here and do the same thing, just a very soft dusting through the red, and then start to let the orange have its kind of day in the sun, as it were. And once I have that, I'll pick up the yellow and I'll start to bring in that yellow right up at the tip just to give this a really pretty glow. And that's how I'm going to handle the butterfly here. So go ahead and do yours. I'm going to do mine on the other side, and then when we come back, we're going to work on I Can Too. Isn't that pretty? Just love the way that that starts to glow. So I've let go of the orange, the yellow, and the red, and I've picked up two greens. I've got a light green and a dark green. The first one is lime peel green, which is PC1005, and then I also have the olive green, which is PC911. But really what I'm looking for is a light green and a dark green. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, and I'm going to make sure that there's no pencil marks in here. And I'm going to just use the side of the pencil here for the lime green. This is the lighter of the two. And I'm just going to come in and shade the whole leaf. And you can see that I'm going fairly lightly with this. I'm just barely touching the page, just getting a very light pigment down onto the page here, just to make it so that it's really soft and interesting. Once I've had a chance to get that light green down onto the page here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick up that dark green. And I'm going to just shade now the very top of it with that dark green. And you don't have to press too hard with that dark green because it has so much pigment in it. And so I'm really just going for a soft dusting of that light green here. I'm going to get up into the point of the leaf. And then wherever I have these little arcs, I'm just going to give it a little bit of a dusting in here. And then I'll come down into where I've got Printemps. And you're going to see me handle Printemps very similarly to the way that I did Double Delight. If you took the class Double Delight, which is also on our YouTube page, you'll notice that this looks very familiar. So I'm coming in and just dusting the inside edge of Printemps to get it to glow a little bit. And if you want to, you can come in onto the outer edge and give it a little bit of pressure just to get that color to pop. And if you wanted to come up on the edge over here and get that color to pop just by pushing a little bit harder right along the edge, you can do that. And now to blend, you're going to see me come in with my light green and just do a really soft blend of that green in here, just to get it to be a little bit interesting. Now you'll notice that I'm being very, very careful not to lose the light inside of Printemps. We really want it to glow. Okay, so go ahead and do yours. I'm going to do mine on the other side as well, and then when we come back, we'll start to work with the background. So I realized that I forgot to put in the tipple. This is looking so dull and boring down here. So I've just picked up my little pen here, and I'm just going to throw in a couple of tipple right along the edge here of my butterfly, just to keep it, interesting. And I'll do the same thing over here. There's always one that gets away, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue with that green that I had in here, and I'm just going to lightly dust around Printemps. And you're going to see me just kind of set up that kind of soft green working around the edge. Now once I've set up that green along the edge here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick up light aqua, which is PC992 here, and I'm just going to do a soft dusting of that light aqua around the edge. When you see a butterfly in the garden, a lot of the time when people photograph, you see a little bit of blues and a little bit of greens behind that butterfly. And so I'm just kind of creating that kind of soft portrait kind of feel. Once I have that, I can go along the edge and press a little bit harder just to create that border, getting a nice intensity on that border. Now I'm going to use the same technique up above where I have my ladybug as well. So I'm just kind of showing you down here what I'm up to and then going up there. So I'm going to come in with a little bit of that white and start to kind of blur the two together just to get that really soft feeling in the background. Almost like a tie-dye. So that when I let it go, you can see that it just gives a really soft glow. So up here, I'm going to do the green around the flower, and then along the edge, I'll do the light blue. You go ahead and do yours. I'm going to do mine. So I'm going to come in and add a little bit of graphite and a little bit of my blending stump into where tipple is here. And I'm just going to shade half of tipple, pick up my blender, blur it out a little bit, leaving a little bit of a light source in that upper left-hand corner, and then I'll go ahead and I'll add a little bit of darkness on the inside edge here. and blur that out as well. I'm going to do that in all of these little tipple that I have over here. You go ahead and do yours, and then when we come back, we're going to pick up the white gel pen. Before we pick up the white gel pen, I'm also going to add a little bit of graphite right in here to my ladybug, just to give a little bit of a dusting right underneath her body here. So just to give this a little bit of interest, I'm going to leave a little bit of light in there so that she kind of pops off the page. And then the other thing I'm going to do is give a little bit on each side of this area right in here, and just let that have a little bit of a pop too. Make sure you keep that light in the center, okay? All right, when we come back, then we'll pick up the white pen. So I've got my white jelly roll in my hand here. This is the Jelly Roll 10, and I'm just going to get it started on my finger. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by bringing it into the points all the way around the edge of our Walk the Line, and you can see that this starts to bring in a very festive atmosphere on the edges of my Walk the Line here. And I'm just very lightly touching each one of these petals. And really with these pens, the lighter you go, the more the ink flows, which is really, really cool. So I'm going to go all the way around and do those, and then I'll also come back into the center and add a little bit of white into where the yellow are, just to give that a little bit of a pop. Okay, so go ahead and do yours. I'm going to finish up mine, and then when we come back, we'll work on the butterfly. So I'm just going to start by bringing in some dots. Once again, kind of a nod to the monarch butterfly. And so I'm just going out into the corners of my butterfly and adding these really fun dots to really make it festive and interesting. And I really love the way that that feels. So I'll go ahead and I'll do the other side as well. You go ahead and do yours. Remember, soften in your shoulders, let your breath be full, and have fun. Once I've had a chance to come down and around the piece, I'm going to add a little bit of a highlight into the tipple that we have here. It's just a really soft little curve, nothing too much to talk of, just to give it a little bit of that shininess that I love inside of tipple. It's always so pretty. So go ahead and do that, and then when we come back, we're going to pick up the gold pen and start to work in the heart. So I've got my Sakura Jelly Roll Gold pen here, and I'm just going to take a little bit of gold and put it in the center of the heart here, just to get that to really pop. A little bit of bling. And then I'm also going to go ahead and add just a little bit of red inside of this particular aura that we have here, just to give it some contrast. I always think that red next to black just looks so elegant and cool. And that really gives it a pretty pop, don't you think? I really like that. So go ahead and do yours, and then when we come back, we're going to do some final touches. So I'm just going to go ahead and put my chop down here in this lower right-hand corner. And here we are at the bottom of the 6th session of the Chrysalis Sessions. I hope that you've enjoyed the series as much as I have enjoyed sharing it with you. Please give us a thumbs up and let us know how you felt like the series went, or leave us a nice review. Even better, hit the subscribe button or tell a friend. Tell more people about what you're doing over here and help us grow the Tangled Yogi community and see more people doing Zentangle with really fun, vibrant colors and doing really creative things. So please join us over on the Tangled Yogi Art Community page on Facebook. I'd love to see your work. If you haven't shared your work yet with us, please, please, please share your work there. This is all about learning from each other and seeing what other students are creating. And when you do that, you create a sense of community there, which is really special. So that's it for me. I'm Rami Marks, your Tangled Yogi. Thanks for joining me for the Chrysalis Sessions. I'll see you next time.